name's Thea. I'm going to take you through a Swiss ball class this afternoon. So welcome for those jumping in now or joining in a little bit later on. So today we're going to work a lot on mobility to start off with. So really using the Swiss ball as a bit of a tool to unlock things and open up certain joints that we have difficulty doing often on our own. We're also going to do a lot of balance work today. So, and when we say balance, we mean trunk control. So using the Swiss ball for what it is, a really wobbly surface, and it gives us a really nice challenging tool to start to initiate more trunk movement and initiate a more balanced trunk, which is really handy for all sorts of different sports, but also just day-to-day postural control, things like that. Keep in mind that, again, a lot of these exercises are generic and gradually will progress. So just listen to your body today. If you feel uncomfortable with any exercise, please just leave that one and move on to the next one, or wait or go back to the exercise previously. So just be attentive to your body today and move in a way that's comfortable for you. So the goal is to really get things mobilized, and then we can start to work into a lot more strength and stability focus. Okay, beautiful. So we'll just kick you off here. So we're going to be starting sitting on the ball. All you need is a Swiss ball and then a mat if you have one. So we're going to do a little bit of work on the floor later. But what I want you to do first is just sit on the ball and find your center. So go into a real slouch like you might do when you're sitting at the computer or watching TV at the end of the day. Then go into potentially the opposite of a slouch. So we might arch our back and think that that's sort of where we want to be posturally. And then I want you to find somewhere in between. So you're relaxed, but you're not slouched. So we're not leaning back and getting a big arch, a lot of tension. We want to feel just propped. And when I say propped, shoulders sitting on top of hips, and your head just sits centered right on top of your spine. So we're going to start off with some low back tilts. So just rolling forward and back on the ball. Pelvic tilts here. So when you're sitting on the Swiss ball, you should have a little bit of a sensation of your two sit points, so your bony points where they're touching the ball. When you roll into that sort of pelvic tilt, you'll get a nice arch in your low back, sort of into our low back slouch. We go the other way and we rock, and we'll see a nice curve in that low back. And you might start to feel a bit of tension there as those muscles come on. And this is sometimes the posture that people take on when they feel they're not sitting correctly. They'll go bang, and that's no good either, because that just draws on a lot of back muscle tension. We want to find somewhere in between. We've got a little bit of a curve, but we're not holding on for dear life with these big muscles down the side of our spine. So just to start with, let's get a little bit of a rocking back and forth feeling. So you're just sort of rolling off your sit bones, then rolling back onto them and letting them come out the back, rolling off them, and then coming back up into a tall position. Arching forward, come back to the middle, and then just let your hands rest there on your thighs. So we're going to do a little bit of work to release that mid-back. So I want you to keep your eyes, this is the challenge, keep your eyes forward, let your hands slide up and down your thigh there. And as you do so, you're getting a nice rotation through your mid-back. So this is how we really work to open up our thoracic spine. And most people, when they do this, will want to move everything at once. So see if you can really leave your head be, leave your neck where it is, and see how much movement you have. Again, we want to be wary, not just moving our arms, we're moving our whole trunk here. So spinning back and forth, just let that open up. That's it. Now just let your hands come down by your side, and now we're going to drop out and open one other side of the trunk. So you're just going to let one hand slide down the side of the ball, opening up one side, shortening one side of the trunk and lengthening through the other. That's it. All the while just keeping contact with your feet on the floor. Let your hands glide down. A couple more. It. And we're going to go for another 5, and this time I want you to take your hand over. As you drop one arm down, the other arm actually reaches over the body. So now we get a real shortening of this side and a long feeling through that side. Over we go. A couple more. Dropping down and lengthening out. Really good. Okay, now I'm just going to come back a touch so you can see me. We're going to work into a little bit of trunk control. So we're going to start off with just a bit of bouncing, just to let those trunk muscles activate. Also, it does a nice job of activating those quads, so getting them fired up just above your knees. It's a little bit of a bounce here. Nothing really you have to pay too much attention to there. I want you to go into a little side bounce now, so left to right, just bouncing on each hip. And we'll go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Really good. And I want you to come back to your center. Hands are going to go straight up to the top, so fingertips to the roof, and then we're going to go into a weight shift. So you're going to shift your weight to the left and shift your weight to the right. Shift your weight to the left and to the right. So we're just bringing our weight onto one foot. You'll notice that I'm not swinging my hips out to the side. It's just a shifting over, shifting over. Now, if you can, we're going to go into a knee lift. So you're going to actually pick one foot up off the floor and see if you can find your balance there. So hands are facing up to the roof. We're going to shift over, lift one leg up, placing that foot back down and switching to the other side. So take this nice and slow. If you feel you haven't got the balance or if your hips are moving all over the place, just focus on that shifting of weight left to right. If you can, I want you to lift the leg up. That's it. So shifting over. We'll go for another 5 here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let your arms come down and just give them a little bit of a shrug and a shoulder break. Okay, now I want you to clasp your hands together. We're going to bring whole body around to the left, whole body around to the right. So we're getting a nice rotational movement there, also incorporating the shoulders. We'll go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let's bring in those legs. So I want you to take your feet nice and wide now. So we're really getting things moving. Feet nice and wide, so your toes are actually pointing out in a big V shape. Now you're going to shift your weight over and then come back to the center. So you're shifting your weight onto one leg and then pushing off to come back to the middle. Shift your weight over, pushing back to the center. So it's a shift and then a push or a drive through that standing leg as you come back. Shift and then push. This is a really nice one to just open up the hips. You shouldn't feel too much strain here. If you do, bring your feet in a little bit closer. So we're just going to let those hips open up. Good. And your trunk is relatively relaxed through this movement, just following the flow of your legs. So the aim of this one is to just get a feel for your legs controlling this whole movement, just rocking you left, back, right, as you go into a nice weight shift without your upper body doing anything. Good. And now we're going to come back into our balance. So we're going to bring our feet nice and close in towards, I'm just going to move that one out of the way so you can see my feet, in closer together. So we're hip width apart, and we're going to now take both hands up overhead as we lift one leg and then back down. So now we're going into a nice dynamic movement. See if you can get that control of hands coming up as your knee comes up. Hands coming up as your knee comes up. Only take that as far as you feel you've got control. We'll go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Really good. Hopefully you managed to find a bit of balance there. Okay, so the next and final one is you're actually going to take that leg up and then take it wide, back in and wide. So everything comes in together and then away together as you tap that toe out to the side. A little bit of coordination here. Go for another 5, 4, reach up as you let that leg come wide. 3, 2, and 1. So lots of balance work going on there, lots of coordinated control between your upper and lower body. Same thing again, so you're starting in here, arms go up as your leg touches out wide and then you come back in. Arm goes up, leg touches out to the side, just your toe touching the floor. Let's go for 5, 3, 4, and 5. Good. So now we're really getting things warmed up. Okay, so if you've got a mat, I'll encourage you to pop that one down on the ground now. We're going to start laying on our back here and doing a little bit of leg work. So I'm going to have you pop that ball underneath your thighs, right up, tucked in underneath towards your bottom. Okay, so the first one I want you to do is just take your hands wide of your mat there and just rock your knees side to side. So it's just a nice little mobilizer. And you'll feel if you go too far, you have to hold on really tightly with your abs. So just try and keep that quite a small movement, just rocking left to right. For another 3, 2, and 1. And then just keeping your ball nice and tucked in close to you. We're going to start off with some tension style exercises. So what I want you to do first is just drive your heels into the ball and then release. So driving your heels into the ball, you're getting a nice tension all the way down the back side of your legs and release. Drive your heels into the ball and release. Heels down, release. You'll feel a little lift, nothing major. At the moment, we're just working down to get a little bit of that compression and tension in the legs. Good. Last one. And excellent. So now we're going to do a nice bridge. So we're going to roll the ball away as you lift your hips up and then curling it back in towards you as you come back. So it's a rolling out and a lifting up sensation. Tuck the ball in and press it in close to your body. Rolling out and back in. Rolling out. And then as you come up, it's a nice drive from your big glute max muscles supporting you in that movement. So thinking about sort of squeezing your bottom cheeks there together. Roll away, pressing the hips up. Let's go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're really firing up that posterior chain, all those big muscle groups down the back of the legs. Bring your ball in close to you again. So it might creep away from you a little bit as you go. That's okay. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again, but this time I want you to have your hands either crossed across your chest or hands up in the air. So you choose, depending on which one feels more comfortable. But it's a bit more challenging there for our trunks. So you're going to press away for 10 now. If you can, with your hands up in the air, if that feels too wobbly, you're going to have them crossed across your chest. And if that's too wobbly, down right by your side. So let's go for another 6. Arms up for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then coming all the way back in. Tuck the ball in close to you and just give yourself a little rock side to side again. Unlock that low back if it's feeling a little bit tense. That's good. Okay, so we've got one more in this position. You're going to lift up into a bridge, so your knees are underneath the ball. You're going to take your hands now up and then over, so your palms are facing the roof as you come back down to your side. So it's a slow movement of the shoulders as you keep your hips nice and stable on that very wobbly surface. This is a tough one. If you feel you can't maintain both arms, I just want you to do one hand going over while the other hand stays on the ground. But if you can, I want you to do both arms right up and over the body, back down again. Let's go for 10 from now. 1, 2, hold that tension in your glute muscles there at the back of your hips. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep those hips up as you get a little bit more tired. And last one, arms overhead and then coming back down to the side as you lower down. Tuck the ball in nice and close to you and then just rocking gently side to side. That's good. So hopefully you've got a little bit of that tension build up through the legs, which is what we want. So there's good tension and bad tension. Bad tension is usually that one that we sustain through the day and doesn't go away. So we're looking to really fire up these muscles while we're exercising. And then we'll do a lot of release work in between. Okay, so now we're going to take the ball down towards our feet. So still keeping your feet a little bit of distance between your feet. So not clamped together, a little bit of distance. So we're looking for about a hip width distance. And then we're going to go into a straight leg bridge. So we're just lifting the whole lower part of the body up as a plank and coming back down. And we'll go for 10 from here. If it feels really easy, you can cross your arms or lift your arms up. Otherwise, hands just down by your side, resting on the floor. I think I've got about 5 to go. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then coming all the way in, just give your knees now a little bit of a rock and a bend. So you bring your heels in towards you, hugging them to your chest and then rolling out again. We'll go for 10 here. Just allowing your hips and knees to bend and then straighten on the ball. Nice mobilizer. Another couple, pressing out, rolling back in. Okay, now we're going to bring the ball in and up on top of our belly here. So you're resting right on the belly. So it's just sitting there nice and soft. We're going to start with some arm movement. So you're going to press the ball up overhead now. So you're going to hold that ball over your head and you're going to take it out towards the floor and then back down towards your knees. So this is just working to get a little bit more shoulder support, a little bit more stability, a bit more of a stability challenge for your upper body. Let's just do 2 more. So arms going overhead and then back down. See if you can really control the ball as you bring it over your head so you're not letting it drop, but controlling it. Okay, we're going to go straight into a leg lift as the arms go overhead and then coming back. So we're just going to do 10 here. The ball goes overhead as your opposite leg presses away and that leg is off the mat. So it's a press. And now this is how we get a nice lengthening sensation through the low back and legs. Ball comes overhead, press away, and then coming back to the center. Let's go for another 4. 3, and 4. Really, really good. Bring the ball back to your belly there. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a rest here. So just give your shoulders a little bit of a break. And we're going to change positions again. Okay, so this time we're going to have the ball tucked underneath our belly. So I'll just set up my thing here. You're going to actually be rolled over the top of the ball. So we're going to start to work in a little bit more through those shoulders, but now rather than the anterior shoulders or the front of the shoulders, we're going to work into that posterior chain. So with the ball tucked in underneath you, I want you to press your legs out. So you're going to get that feeling of a nice drive through the toes and straight legs. Okay, so we're going to go for 5 here, just pressing your legs out and let your hands actually just rest on the floor. And it's a big drive through those legs. Lifting the knees up off the floor and then curling back. Good. Now that you've got that feeling, I want you to press out. So your feet are nice and wide. Particularly if you feel wobbly, I'll encourage you to just take your feet nice and wide and your belly support on the ball. Then we're going to take both hands up and then back down. So they're going to glide up and then back down. Hold your legs steady and back down. We'll go for another 5 here. And when you bring your hands up, you want to feel that tension through sort of in between your shoulder blades. That's where we're working. And coming all the way up. Good. Now, we're going to go into a nice opposite arm leg lift. So you've got your body support on the ball. You're going to lift the opposite arm and leg up. Again, now we're connecting the shoulders and the hips, getting those slings working, lifting up using that posterior chain. Okay, let's go for 10 from here. So one arm lifts as the opposite leg lifts. Think about bringing your heel up to the roof. It's a nice one because the ball is supporting your low back, so it prevents you from doing too much bending through the low back and really focuses on you working through your strong glute max muscles. Good. Oh, lost my balance there, as we tend to do. Another 2, lifting up and back down. Good. Okay, we'll come out of that position again. I'm going to move that mat out of the way. Beautiful. Okay, so for this next one, we'll move the ball out from underneath your belly, and it's going to be positioned underneath your elbows. So I want you to get this rolling out and then back in. So you're going to pop the ball underneath your elbows and slightly in front of you. Then you're going to shift your weight forward onto your elbows, and as you do that, you're straightening your hips and then rocking back. Coming forward and then rocking back. So it's a nice one for those rotator cuff muscles to really stabilize you. But also we get a nice abdominal workout as well. So let's go for 10 from now. 3, 4. See if you can keep the same sort of rhythmical pace. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now we're going to go into a mixing pot movement. So that's where you're going to get your shoulders moving in a circular motion, but while you've got the weight down on them in the ball. So you're in that plank position. So you're going to actually roll the ball forward in a nice planking position. Then you're going to draw some circles with your elbows. So nice big circles here. Go for 5 and then we'll switch directions. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Reposition yourself if you need to on the ball. So you've got a nice straight position. You're going to come forward and then other direction. 2, 3, 4. Hold those strong hips and abdominal muscles. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Coming all the way back. Now we're going to sink into a little bit of a stretch. So your hands are going to go forward on the ball. Your head just sinks down and you're going to open up right up through the armpits and down through the shoulders. Come up into a tall position and then you're going to glide down again for that stretch. Just allow your head to hang as comfortable. Coming back up, gliding down. Let the hips just sort of sink back. And coming back. Really good. Okay, we're going to change positions again. So this time we're going to roll over the ball completely. So you're going to roll all the way into a plank position here with your hips on the ball. And we're going to go through several different movements first. But the first one, so I want you to get the feeling of your shoulders just underneath your hips. Sorry, your hands just underneath your shoulders. I'm losing my words. And we're going to do some gliding. So let the body come back and then you're going to pull forward with your shoulders like an arrow. Gliding back and then you're going to pull forward with those arms. This is a lovely mobilizer for the shoulders, but also gets that trunk upper limb connection going. Good, and just taking that as far as you can comfortably. If your wrists are a little bit sore, just walk them forward a little bit further in front of you and then you won't have to go as far. over into that flexed position. So just allowing yourself to roll forward and back. For another 3. Good. Now holding out your position there if you can, take your hands now even wider. So just off to the side and off on a slight angle. And we're going to come down and then pull forward. So same thing, getting a slightly different load through the shoulder as you come back and then pulling forward. Come back and then pulling forward. Let's go for another 5. So it's sort of like a tensioner, and then as you come back, it's a release, coming forward, and then come all the way back off. Okay, well done. Hopefully you managed to find some balance there. So we're going back into that position again. This time, you're going to do some walkouts. So we're going to start with the hips supported under the ball and the hands supported under the shoulders. And we're actually going to do some little walks. You're going to walk all the way out to as far as you feel comfortable. Then you're going to walk back to where you feel comfortable. So we're going to walk forward, hands lifting up, and then we're going to come back. And forward. Little steps with your hands. Little steps to come back, and make sure you've got a nice balanced position so you're not going too far forward. And the further you get away from the ball, the harder it is, because you've got much more of a lever, much longer lever of your body as you come further away. As you come back in, it gets a little bit easier. 2 more, walking those hands out and walking them back in. And walking them back out. Good, and walking back in. And then having a bit of a rest there. Let's give our wrists a little bit of a break, so swirling them around. Good. Okay, we've got a couple more in that position. So you're going to come back into your rolled over position. So hands underneath your shoulders to start off with here. And we're going to draw some circles now with our body. So moving around your hands, you're going to draw some imaginary circles. So imagine that you've got a laser attached to your nose. You're going to draw some circles on the ground with that laser. So we're going to go off for 10 clockwise and then 10 anti-clockwise. So try and initiate that movement from the shoulders and trunk rather than from your hips. They're just going to follow suit, which is tricky for the hips because they're often used to controlling that movement. They're a bit of a center point for a lot of our stability work. So starting that movement up around the shoulders and just let the trunk follow. You'll notice that my legs are quite wide now for balance. So if you feel like you're really wobbling, just take them out a little bit wider. So you've got that control there. And then switching over if we haven't already. So going anti-clockwise now. And we'll go for 10. 4, round we go. 5, 6. Just keep that as smooth as possible. Just notice where your weaknesses lie. You might feel a bit jerky in one direction. Always interesting to notice. See if it gets any better as you go. And that's probably coming up to around about 10 there. And we're going to come all the way back down for a rest. Okay, good. So our shoulders are well and truly warmed up. Give your wrists a little bit of a break here. And we'll go into the final exercise here. So this is a knee drive. So you're going to roll forward with your hands on the floor. Now this one, again, is one of those ones that looks a little bit trickier than it actually is. So you're actually going to now rock back, just as we did with the glide. But then as you come forward, you're going to pull your knees up towards you. And then coming back down and release. So it's a pull forward, knees up. And then knees glide back down and you recover. Pull forward, knees up, back down and recover. So it's a really lovely exercise. It feels quite nice once you've got the feel of it, because we get to really open up that back and bring our hips into the play there. Coming forward, pulling up, And we'll go for another 3 here. And gliding back down. It's almost like the very beginnings of a handstand, but obviously with a lot more support from the ball. Okay, really, really good. And then coming off that position there, give your hands a little bit of a break, a little bit of a circle around. Okay, so for the next position, we're actually going to have the ball up against the wall, so behind our backs. So see if you can find a nice comfy position where you've got the ball in your low back. So we're going to do a whole bunch of different leg exercises here as well as bringing in the arms. It's also not a bad time to take your socks off because they sometimes feel like you might slide all over the place. So I want you to place the ball against the wall and then right behind your low back. And we're going to start out with our legs nice and wide and our toes pointing out. And I want you to do a little bit of a, call this a sumo squat. So if you sort of imagine a sumo, bending down. You might not want to imagine that. Dropping down and then pressing back up. Now it's a bit different from a normal squat where you have a big bend at the hips. This one, you're still relatively upright through the trunk. And that just gives us a bit of an opportunity to fire up the legs without those dominant back muscles wanting to do too much. So we'll go for another 3 here. Just let your hands hang down in between your legs. Good. Now bring your feet in. So they're about hip width apart, slightly pointed out, so with the toes. Now we're going to go into a regular Swiss ball squat. So just dropping down, hands just by your side or in between your knees. And I just want you to go down as far as you feel comfortable again. So you might just do little half squats here, depending on what your hips and knees allow. Let's go for another 5. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then coming all the way back up. Give your legs a little bit of a rest and a walk out there. Those quads are definitely getting a bit of a workout for sure. Okay, so we're going to go back down into the squat. But this time, you're going to take both arms overhead as you go down. So again, I want you to just take that as far as you feel comfortable moving. If your legs are giving you grief, just do little half squats as you take your arms up. So as you go down, the arms go up. Again, we test that coordination. We get the brain involved, even if only just for a little bit. Arms up as you drop the hips down. We'll go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then having a rest there. Feel free to just have a bit of a stretch over the back of the ball or roll it left to right. Just get your hips gliding off left to right here. Okay, now, next one, a little bit more brain training. Your hand is going to come across your body. So it's going to start in your opposite hip. As you go down, that arm's going to come up and back in. So arm goes up as you go down, back to the opposite pocket. So why are we doing this? Because it really activates those slings that we worked on earlier on. So you're getting a nice attachment, upper limb and lower limb working together. Good, another 3 on that side, down, arm lifts up, and 3, good, okay, other side, so bring your opposite, your other hand across your body to the opposite hip. As you go down into the squat, that arm opens up. Again, take the arm as far as you feel comfortable, so either just to the shoulder position or you might take that back behind you if you can. But arms coming up and you've got a nice stable lower limb support to work with. Let's go for another 6. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Have a rest there. Okay, really good. So we've got those legs firing up. Now we're going to turn around. I'm going to pop the ball at the wall. So this is a little bit different. Now what you're going to do is do some little circles with your hands under the ball. So just little circles, drawing little circles. Now be careful not to hit any of your, I'm right in between a TV and a painting here. Little circles with the arms, just like we've done a lot of today. So lots of shoulder stability work. You'll notice my heels have just come off the ground. Little circles with your arms, holding your body nice and stable like a plank. And then we're going to go off in the other direction. So 10 one way. And then rotating around the other way if you haven't already. So little circles, drawing those circles with a little bit of weight through your arms there. This is high stakes because I really don't want to hit that painting. And then coming down for a rest. Really, really good. Okay. Now, last position of the day, you're going to be sitting on the ball. And we're going to actually now roll forward so that our body, I'll come all the way back to here, our body is resting on the ball. So just let yourself sort of slide forward, and straight away you're going to go into a position where your hip muscles have really got to work to support you. So just let them open up there. So it's a nice little opener for the front of the hip. And we're going to take our hands straight up overhead and then back over the ball, coming down to the hips and then back over. So think of this as a nice way to open up the shoulders, because you can allow them to sort of lower down, but keep your legs on through this movement. So don't let them drop down. Keep your hips on as your arms go up and then down towards your sides. Hands gliding up and over. So we've done lots of shoulder mobility work today. The Swiss ball gives you a really good opportunity to do that, as well as strengthening up those rotator cuff muscles in weight bearing. Arms coming over, right up and over. We'll go for another 3 here. 2, and keep that tension in those leg muscles. And then we're coming right up to the center and bring your hands up so that their palms are facing one another and your fingertips are pointing at the roof. And what we're going to do now is take one arm out to the side and really let that open up again. So allow the ball to just let you open up that side, coming back, and then the other side. So let gravity do its job. Let your arm sink down towards the floor, one side and the other, and just holding your legs nice and stable as best you can. We'll go for 10 from now. Opening up the shoulders and back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Really, really good. Okay, final one, final exercise for today before we do some stretches to finish off. You're going to clasp your hands together, and now we're going to do a little bit of a test here for those looking to work on their balance and their stability. So hands clasped up, and what you're going to do is you're going to rock over to the left and rock over to the right. So keeping your head on the ball, just rocking over to one side and then coming back, rocking over to the other and then coming back. So it's a slight shift of weight, just like we practiced at the very beginning. Coming back, shifting that weight over as you rock your body over to one side. We'll go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Really good. And then coming all the way back, just curling your body all the way back up again into a seated position. We're going to finish off with some nice mobility work in seated and kneeling. That was really good. So hopefully you managed to follow along with some of those exercises. Some certainly more challenging than others. Okay, so I want you to come back into your nice pelvic tilts here, and we're going to make that into a full spine movement to finish off. So just letting yourself sort of slump and then arch up again. That might feel a little bit stiff after doing what you've just done. So let's see if we can get a little bit of a release. Good. So talk a lot about sort of building tension and then releasing it. So letting your body know that there are options. It doesn't have to be on all day. We want control over our muscular tension. Good. Just letting yourself roll down into that slump and then arching up. Roll down into a full slump, arching up. Good. And then popping your hands on your thighs again, and we're going to get that thoracic rotation, so that mid-back rotation back. Make sure we haven't lost all those gains that we had at the beginning. So your head doesn't move, your neck doesn't move, but you're going to glide your hands back and forth along your thighs and allow that rotation to happen. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Okay, I will leave you there, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you managed to enjoy some of those exercises today.